Yellow journalism is the traditional term created over 100 years ago for media reporting that is based upon sensationalism and exaggeration. So, for instance, when a young woman is portrayed in the movie Reefer Madness, smoking marijuana and jumping through a high-rise window, implying that a few puffs of reefer will turn any peace-loving person into a violent maniac, well, it doesn't get much yellower than that. When a Hillary Clinton super PAC bashes Donald Trump, or vice versa, we call it a hit piece, or hit job, tantamount to a paid-for murder. In this case, someone's reputation is being worked over. Thank God for defamation laws, which prevent a lot of liars from doing their worst, but unfortunately don't prevent distortions that slither past the bounds of the law. For instance, did you know that the Bible actually says that there is no God? Yep. Psalm 14 verse 1 says, there is no God. But guess what? It doesn't say that. The entire sentence reads, the fool hath said in his heart, there is no God. So context makes a big difference. Lifting information out of its original context changes its meaning, sometimes radically. Blurbs for books, movies, and Broadway shows are notorious for transforming negative opinions into positive ones. The David O. Russell movie Accidental Love was deemed a comedic masterstroke by A.A. Dowd of the AV Club. But wait, that's not true. Here is the complete sentence from which those three words were culled. Quote, to be fair to whoever refashioned Accidental Love from the abandoned scraps of Nailed, which was the movie's original title, there's little reason to believe that the ideal untroubled version of the material would have been a comedic masterstroke. Unquote. So, Dowd meant the opposite of the blurb, namely, that if the movie, which suffered a variety of production setbacks, had been made under the best of circumstances, even then it would not be a comedic masterstroke. Wars, religious movements, and political campaigns are often waged on the basis of falsehoods. The Iraq War of the previous decade comes to mind, as does the whole notion of jihad as interpreted by Muslim extremists. Remember the 2012 Republican Convention slogan, "We built it," sprung from a willful distortion of something President Obama had said a mere month before.
If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen.
Remember that? Well, Fox News jumped all over this as evidence that Obama was anti-business. But the meaning of the passage from which this quote was extracted is entirely different. Essentially, the president said that America the Great was built through a cooperative effort.
The point is that when we succeed because of our individual initiative, but also because we do things together.
Individualism is part of it, but it's not enough. The infrastructure, the internet, the middle class, sending men to the moon, these were all accomplished because of both individual initiative and collective effort.
We rise or fall together as one nation and as one people, because I still believe in that idea. You're not on your own. We're in this together.
And speaking of collective effort, it takes a lot of work by a lot of people to misconstrue those inspiring words as something nefarious. But that's the Republican Party for you. My all-time favorite hitman is Ted Cruz. From his dozens and dozens of half-truths, carefully crafted distortions, and outright pants-on-fire lies. Seriously, people, check out his PolitiFact file. I like to joke that the good news about Cruz is that fully 1/3 of his statements are mostly kinda sorta true-ish. My favorite bit of stink from the Ted Cruz Compost is something he said last November about the current transgender brouhaha. He said that the federal government is going after school districts, trying to force them to let boys shower with little girls. PolitiFact rated this statement false and cited 14 sources in its analysis, including The Advocate, the National Center for Transgender Equality, a professor emeritus in social justice education at the University of Massachusetts Amherst, the ACLU of Illinois, the Chicago Tribune, the Office of Civil Rights, U.S. Department of Education, and the New York Times. Ted Cruz cited no sources. He just made that shit up in front of millions of gullible listeners. But wait, there's more! Next week, in part 2 of this series about political hit jobs, we're going to talk about the ones that don't involve famous people. In part 3, we're going to swim deeper into the importance of context. And in part 4, I'm going to tell you about a hit job that was done on me. No, not by Ted Cruz. That would be too proud for this humble podcast, which, after all, explores sex, religion, and politics from the point of view of the little guy, the other 1%. No, a disgruntled pet sitter took a lot of time to write a hit piece on me in a place so obscure that, were I not to point it out to you, probably no one else would ever benefit from it. So, you're welcome, disgruntled pet sitter.
Oh, thank you.